What's up, alligators? Welcome to day 17 of Lent. Today we have a special guest and fellow alligator.
That's right.
Shoeless Joe, who has his own video blog on minimalism. Today we will be focusing on Nicholas Gomez's question of the importance of tradition. Stick around and learn about it from a minimalist's perspective. Hey guys, I'm Allie Marie.
And I'm Shoeless Joe.
And this is My Catholic Perspective. To join Team Alligators, all you have to do is watch this video and then put in the comments what stuck out to you most in this video. So Joe, you have a minimalist blog.
Yes, I do.
And you were raised Catholic.
Yes, I was.
How in the world, as a minimalist, can you ascribe to the deep philosophies of Catholicism without just going with sola scriptura or sola fide? Why in the world did you pick something that's so vast when you're a minimalist?
I get that question kind of frequently because I talk about questioning all the possessions we have and the extra things we have, questioning everything in life, and sometimes people say, well, you need to question the Catholic Church. Even though I was raised as a Catholic, I did question. There was a period of saying, okay, is this church the true church, and is Christ real? There is an appeal as a minimalist to just getting rid of all that extra stuff and just saying, I've got my Bible, I've got my own thoughts and my own conscience, and just running with that. But tradition has been so important in the history of the church. When we look back to the Jewish faith that Jesus was a part of himself, there has always been tradition there, and there have always been people that God has given us to help us interpret his word and to interpret his will for our lives. A lot of people have issue with the Pope. God has always put someone as kind of his mouthpiece. Abraham and Moses and all these different people. And then, of course, Jesus. But then Jesus said to Peter, you know, you're my rock, I'm my rock, I will build the church. So to me, that kind of tradition there just makes so much sense. There are certain insights, of course, that you can get from just reading the Bible on your own and kind of setting your own prayer life.
Even within the Bible, though, I mean, there has to be an aspect of the Catholic faith that you would appreciate, since they did minimize which books actually came into the Bible. You don't ascribe to the Gospel of Judas, so there is an aspect of that that maybe would play into even edifying a minimalist.
The scriptures come from tradition. Tradition. That's what they are. It's tradition just written down. A lightning bolt and a big puff of smoke. Here's the Bible. Sometimes I almost don't even like the word Bible just because it gives us this idea of like it's just a book, when really it's a series of books written by all sorts of different people in different time periods. And it's all of them, whether you're talking about the Old Testament or the New. That is tradition.
In the Catholic Church, when you walk in, though, does it feel cluttered to you? You walk in, you see
never
all
thought
the
about that.
Sculptures, all the paintings on the wall. Does it feel there needs to be less?
I've never felt that way. When I go into a church and I see, whether it's paintings of the saints, statues of Mary and Jesus and all that, I feel like that makes me realize the heavenly family that we have and the heavenly body, that especially when we come into the church and have that communion through the Eucharist, we're a part of that heavenly body, and there's angels and saints rejoicing and praying with us. I actually prefer that to going into a church that feels sparse, and you'd think as a minimalist I would prefer that, but I actually just felt more like empty because I don't know, all of that just like makes me feel at home.
How do you feel about the New Age worship music? I think about all the hymns that we have throughout the church, this whole concept of being unified with the entire church of all the ages. Do you prefer the minimalist choir that's just the piano or the organ with the voices? Do you like the drums and the guitar?
Personally, I don't like the drums. I just don't.
The drums.
The thing about the Mass is we have come to both focus on the death of Christ and the resurrection at the same time. And I feel like there's like two camps where like one camp wants it to be like so dreary and like don't talk, don't smile, like so Jesus reverent. Died for you, right? And then there's the camp of it's like, woo, praise Jesus type of. But I do really like just like Gregorian chant. When you go to daily Mass and if there's no music, it almost helps make you more reverent, at least for me. Not to say that music obviously is bad at Mass. It's not. But it's like almost the switch just can help switch your focus.
With the beatification of saints, do you think that the church has chosen too many people to be saints?
My wife and I inherited from my grandparents a full volume set of the lives of the saints.
Did you keep them?
Yes.
Oh, Minimalist kept them.
But I don't want to.
He doesn't want to.
I want to give them to my brother. It's huge. There's like 1 million saints for every single day, which is why I want to get rid of them. You can get bogged down by how many saints there are, absolutely. But there's so many different types of people. This is what I always say. It's hard to relate to Jesus because he was God and man. It's like, yeah, he was human, but come on, he was God at the same time. And Mary was born without original sin, so it can be harder to relate to them. Mm-hmm. But there's so many saints. Everyone has a saint that they can relate to. Find that saint that you're just like, oh my gosh, this saint was insecure like I was, or this saint was crazy like I was, or has like a terrible past like I do. I think more than I think what would Jesus do sometimes, I think what would St. Francis do. Even though obviously what Jesus is going to do is better, but it's like, but St. Francis was trying so hard to live for Christ, and I can just relate to that more.
So the importance of tradition with that then would just be you can minimalize which ones you're going to be focusing on.
Minimalism is all about looking at your options and focusing on what is going to make your life better.
One other piece that I find really important about the importance of tradition too is the fact that without the Catholic faith, without the Bible, without the oral tradition, we wouldn't know who Christ was today at all. The Protestant church claims the church started with Jesus and it's because of Jesus that we know who he is. And it's like, well, you know, without Emperor Constantine, he probably would have gotten lost. And how many people have we never heard of? Like, we know about Alexander the Great. We know about Emperor Constantine. There are certain figures in history that we know about because they were documented in history, in the tradition of transcribing each piece of what goes on. And the importance of tradition just being that without it, we wouldn't even know who Jesus was.
We wouldn't even know that he was coming, because in the Jewish faith, that was all tradition. Christ is like the fulfillment of all these traditions, and he still is continuing on with those traditions.
Amen. He's such a true alligator. I knew I invited him over for a reason.
That's right, that's right.
So there you go, Nicholas. I hope that the perspective of mine and Shoeless Joe's here helps to answer your question about the importance of tradition. I look forward to seeing any further questions or comments that you may have on the matter, as well as that alligator comment of what was the thing that stuck out to you most throughout this entire video. So I'm Allie Marie.
And I'm Shoeless Joe.
See you later, alligators.